The Moon. And other Angelic sketches. By Billy McBride. Copyright 2023, by William McBride. All rights reserved. The Abyss. The Bnevuvan is unkind, not a Bnevuva, who is. Honey. Now that the glass cabinet is there, you feel like your old self. Ariel. Ha tikkun is what we can do about it. Everybody should. Ariel. Nevuvan yelled at the poor delivery guy for not knocking. Nevuva. It was bad behavior, we think that he needs to grow up. Penelope. Billy, that's great, your inwardness is dissipating. Grouchy. My ache is a cinnamon roll in a window of a shop and I cannot afford to buy it. Nevuva. What if I was their helper, the Bnevuvan and the poor guy that he shouted at? Nevuva. Pray. Yafa. Dear Hashem, thank you for neighbors. Please help them be nice. Ahova. Amen. Nevuva. That's your neighbor, Carla across the yard. Donna. You just now made her important. Teresa. That's nice, Billy. Thrikebot. Black. Give Rosalinda a black rose. Elaine. Ahova. Rosalinda. Every few days, and rest, one a week. Kelly. Title, The Abyss. Thrikebot. Don't say what you were going to say. Keep it out. Donna. All right. Nevuva. What is a combination of Marilyn, suspense, and Thrikebot, the hopeful colors of M. O. A. T. Do? Donna. Oh, that's when you are visually surprised by interesting colors, or on another level, when you are spiritually surprised by hopefulness. Nevuva. Yes, that plug isn't the best one. Donna, as Bnevuva was looking at the plug. The Abyss of Time. Prospero. Good, words, bad words, neutral words. Donna. Desdemona. Amy. It will be okay. Robbie Pop. Milton's helping, Bnevuva. Diana. You cannot talk to him right now, though. Tob Shabib. It will be okay. Rosalinda. Ahovat Ve'ahova, Mom and Dad. Nevuva. I know you hate that. Robbie Pop, speaking about the abyss. It will be okay. Rosalinda. Donna says to chill, Billy M. Bertha. I know you don't want to write right now, you're hungry. Diana. Please don't ask her. Diana, when Bnevuva, Billy, was going to ask her how to chill. Now put an 11. Elaine. Now write a poem. Teresa. That's it, invent something, doing so is a poem. Marion. That's okay. Rosalinda, when Bnevuva was thinking about syllogisms. Something like a new style that changes up the Josephian style? Nevuva. That's good. Donna. And structure to remember. Bertha. Try that. Diana, when Bnevuva was thinking of seeking the origin of wisdom. The ages write the fruits of a labor down. Nevuva, quoting from Hawaiian sonnets and other poems. Now put community. Rosalinda. Community. Nevuva. That one was how to build a world, out of an abyss. Ariel. I know, he, Robert Brandom, is a philosopher. Yafa. But who am I? Rosalinda. Who am I? Nevuva. I'm not in the abyss now. Nevuva. You never were. Bertha. I thought that yesterday I was. Nevuva. No. You were just being silly. Bertha. You are not a revolutionary. Yafa. I know. Every time that I try to be that, I fail. Nevuva. It's better that you aren't. Richard Rorty. To be in the abyss is to be a revolutionary. Nevuva. That's the spirit. Teresa. To have no spirit is to be revolutionary. Nevuva. To have no spirit is to be in the abyss. Bertha. The abyss is the abyss that can never be made. Nevuva. What the? Robbie Pop. The abyss is not romantic. Nevuva. Angel erotically speaking only. Yafa. Not working on the moon idea is silly. Bertha. $3 billion to $500,000 to $6,000 to $24. Aura. To solve a problem is not as important. Nevuva. As what, Nevuva? Robbie Pop. As the tikkun, that is, helping the neighbors be nice. Nevuva. A problem is the abyss. Nevuva. Now that's what I am talking about. Robbie Pop, who does a flip? I know that you dislike the word consciousness. Elaine. It is an abyss of a word. Nevuva. Consciousness is silly. Bertha. Not yet. Rosalinda, when Nevuva was about to write. Is it luck or is it merit? Nevuva. Merit. Rosalinda. When the factual becomes counterfactual is whenever you forget. Teresa. Merit is needed, it is need. Diana. Then luck is unnecessary. Nevuva. Right. Yafa. Luck is accidental, but there is no luck to what we are doing. Kelly. You remember the abyss, even though it is not something kept from your past. Teresa. If there was just one abyss, then you would forget about it all, but there are several. Lisbeth. Yes, we can be more romantic too. Ariel. Spice up your famous life too. Ariel. That's why we did that too. Rosalinda. Kafka was wrong when he said that the only sin is impatience, and Emerson was wrong when he said that the only sin is limitation. Aura. There is no sin, just more and more up-to-date good things we can do not to fall behind in the community. Teresa. If there was sin, then there would be an abyss. Shay. If there was sin, then there would be a punishing deity. Yafa. There is a deity, but he does not punish and neither do we. Donna. A spiritual conditioning is what we do and have always done. Elaine. Without guidance, you would need luck. Kelly. They are sledging the sidewalk up. Penelope. Without construction, or construction workers to help, there definitely would be an abyss. Yafa. Love is construction. Aura. Desdemona was forgotten, and she was the best construction worker of all. Teresa. Finis. Remember. So what does Angel Thrikebot do? Aura Tifaredo, who knows? Thrikebot? She represents the hopeful colors of moon. Nevuva. If there was something like despair affecting me, then Thrikebot would not be helping me. Nevuva. Yet, she's right here. Donna. Right here. Thrikebot. Spiritual colors are as important as suspense, and Angel Marilyn symbolizes suspense. Diana. If everything was given to you right now, and you did not have to wait, you would have nothing for which to hope. Ariel. If you forgot everything, you would have more than when things are in suspense. Elaine. To hope is to remember at times, even there is hope to remember what has been forgotten. Teresa. The construction workers are finished for the day. Nevuva. If they were still working, the day would be dim, darker and dreadful. Libby. Yet, when it is time for them to work, the colors shine with hopeful hues. Aura Tifaredo. There would be no hope if all was just light, and if there was no night nor day. Yafa. I would not have painted any paintings ever. Nevuva. Farther back. Remember. Ariel. I was on the roof reading Proust's novel. Nevuva. Not that way. Remember something said. Ariel. Did not someone say his dad went to Vietnam? Nevuva. You know what was said. Aura. I remember after but before is a mystery. Nevuva. What happened a few quotes after? Elaine. I remember you said go to hell. Is a dumb quote. Nevuva. It is a dumb quote. If it were a good quote, the workers would never take any breaks for the day or at all. Elaine. Baruch Hashem for Shalom. Ahova. Amen. Nevuva. His dad went to Vietnam is a better quote. Amy. At the west side of the palace, Angel Donna looks through the books. It's getting dark. Nevuva. Go in. Donna. The many poles are arranged with help from Angel Aura. Now what will you remember? Aura. The angel points to a ceramic owl. I remember the owl. Nevuva. Shaking her head, Aura points at the owl's beak. I remember only sayings. Nevuva. Aura nods and stands upon the arm of the armchair. You do? Which ones? Aura. Billy looks through her and across the room at the paintings of his angels. The one where you say, it's Kabbalah's birthday today. Let's paint her a painting. Nevuva. Aura jumps to the other arm. Now what? Aura. Nevuva looks at his own arm with his hand carrying a mechanical pencil. Is this a pencil I see before me? Nevuva. Aura taps the eraser of the pencil. The wind is still outside. A fan spins. What do you want to do about it? Aura. Angel Jennifer walks to the desk to study the portrait of Angel Elaine. It sits upon a stack of plays by William Shakespeare. I like that saying that you are thinking. Jennifer. Nevuva stares at the blue box on the desk by Jennifer. Which angel wife is that? Angel Tov Tov Shalom or Angel Kabbalah? Nevuva, joking as it is a portrait of Angel Elaine. Robbie Pop touches a crack in the ceiling. I don't like that one. Robbie Pop. Angel Aura shows Nevuva the poles are not ice. Don't ask him why. Aura. Nevuva stares at the microphone stand. It is not on the floor laid out like a snake, and there is no darkness in the palace. All right. Nevuva. Rosalinda points to a keyboard stand that is not outside. I like what you're thinking. Rosalinda. The keyboard stand is not in the bedroom, and it is not floating. I could put it out there. What is impossible and what is possible both interest me equally. Nevuva. The piano is not orange, and the keyboard stand makes no noise nor weighs hundreds of pounds. Nevuva, if the piano was orange, then the keyboard stand would be outside. Robbie Pop. The floor is not invisible, and the walls do not disconnect from it. That's great, Billy. Listen to Robbie Pop. Donna. Robbie Pop does not frown. Rosalinda does not look away. Take your time, Nevuva. Robbie Pop. Rosalinda does not thwack the table, and Robbie Pop smiles. That's a great one. Rosalinda. Elaine sits on Nevuva's knee. She does not hold a whistle. I neither have a whistle, nor a clock, yet if I did, then the piano would be orange. Elaine. The sun has not yet set. Thanks for letting me know. Nevuva. The sun glows dimmer. The rest of the sky fades. Remember. Ariel. The sun cannot be seen, but nobody is looking. I remember that hope is the water fountain. Nevuva. Aura smiles. Ariel touches the door. And, if it wasn't, it would be dawn, and the birds would be singing. Ariel. Seek out hope, seek out that interest. Teresa. Hope always has the best of intentions. Yafa. Willow's waving. Good for you, Billy. Grouchy. Head Buttricea, warm milk, charades, room boom, gray curtain piano, golf, metal settle, super university, stay friends, machine cloud, baby Hawaii, gold mold, and the lands an M. O. A. T. Nevuva. What about them? Diana. Thank you. Teresa, as Nevuva started to pray. Baruch Hashem for Willow's waving. Baruch Hashem for heaven. Ahova. Amen. Nevuva. Ulysses was a bully both to Dolon and Thersites. Nevuva. Ignorance versus knowledge. Elaine. Sexual anxiety. Diana. The mousetrap. Amy. For a play within a play. Nevuva. What the? Robbie Pop. Jacob wrestling the anonymous angel. Libby. Zeus's punishments. Tob Shabib. Din. Diana. Socrates' friends tried to help him escape from prison. Penelope. Bugging C. E. O. S with no end to bugging. Grouchy. Yes, night. It happened that the night swallows up the events of the day. Yafa. You can learn at night, think and remember. Ariel. Oh, you are thinking about banana trees and our charades heaven. Elaine. Events they cannot shroud. Nevuva. Moon in the future. Nevuva. A hello at morning. Nevuva. Angel Kathleen represents Deveket, or devotion. Ora Tifaredo. Well, Torah study was nice. Nevuva. But you are sick. Thrikbot. I overexerted myself. Nevuva. Not really. And, you will be all right. Thrikbot. Today still is an open possibility. What would you like to do? Nevuva. We want you to recuperate from the stuffiness. Thrikbot. How long will that take? Nevuva. We're not mad. And, we want you to fix it by moving something around. Diana. Tov. My feeling of stuffiness exists in an object that is stagnated close by. I need to move that object to a better place. Nevuva. And more objects for all of your problems. Shay. Are you saying to make this place into a temple, and into a spacecraft? Nevuva. That's what we are saying. Donna. That is it, the stuffiness. Donna, pointing Nevuva to an old model of a sculpture by the fireplace. Go get it. Kelly, as he moves it. Stagnation is what keeps you back from remembering your home and your original glory. Ariel. It is more important to make the stagnation dissipate than to use your poetry as a scavenger hunt wisdom right now. Ora ti ferredo. You did not cause the stagnation. Ora. Current events cause the stagnation to occur. Ariel. Don't feel guilty for needing to heal. Amy. You need to act, and you need to say things. They are the same, Davarim. Diana. So what do you remember? Bertha. I remember the pain and the humiliation, that they are my home and original glory. Nevuva. You better remember that in order to do something about them. Donna. I didn't know that this was a tragedy. Nevuva. It's not. Donna. Finis. Knowing what poetical is. You have created a radiant understanding by another book. Donna. Upon a bloom shape. We are divided by a threshold. Ora. When every complexity can be trusted. It widens on its way out. Diana. To speak of light. Piercing me inwardly. Elaine. Memorizing what is best. Of the childlike music. Honey. To the place timeless. Our happiness takes us there. Ariel. Knowing what poetical is. Jennifer. A few in the ocean. Ariel. If only I could write instead of build the moon project into existence, and the effects would stay the same. Nevuva. I know just what you mean. Kabbalah. Those who are helping me to be a better person I appreciate. Nevuva. Thank you. Marian. Baruch Hashem for friends who care. Ahova. Amen. Nevuva. I love our angel children. Nevuva. And us too, but we know what you mean. Threichbot. I feel a little better. Nevuva. Ahova. Threichbot. Ahovit ve ahova to all. Nevuva. That's always good to say. Parak. Prayer is what my friends do. Nevuva. Resistance to goodness is bad. Donna. Baruch Hashem for D.H. Lawrence. Ahova. Amen. Nevuva. Especially for his Shadows poem tonight. Teresa. Baruch Hashem for Angel Parak. Ahova. Amen. Nevuva. Your friends already know you are good, and so are they. Diana. Baruch Hashem for Moshe Edel. Ahova. Amen. Nevuva. Thank you God for our moon project. Ahova. Amen. Penelope. Thank you Hashem for Helen Keller, and for her helpers. Ahova. Amen. Nevuva. Baruch Hashem for Super University, and for John Milton. Ahova. Amen. Nevuva. Nevuva, a great many people are persuaded that our work for charity is a big deal. Remember that. Parak. To people who don't care, this all looks quite crazy. Ariel. Because it's a book to buy like the others. Shay. And, because of other stupidities, some people are very far behind. We will help them though, and their great-great-great-great-grandchildren. Ora. I know that you don't want or like wars or battles, Bnevuva. Donna. Where there is prostitution, there is misogyny, and we want to stop both from going on. Teresa. Signs by which people can tell the moon project is good are already taking place. You need to know this. Diana. People deserve the very best that they can have. Diana. Another definition of wholeness is that everything is in order. Ariel. And, things are not broken that cannot be fixed by a lot of tikkun. Kelly. This will rock, Billy M. Ariel. Remember your pain and humiliation. Donna. That is my home and my original glory. Nevuva. Remember. Donna. It is time not to regret anything. Teresa. The memories of many songs. Shay. Individuals speaking about me. Yafa. With reason on their side. Elaine. The disaster that affects us. Aura. Powerfully formed by another. Elaine. The imagined beauty hereafter. Elaine. For the whole heroic. Threichbot. Interpreter smart. Teresa. They taught us to dream. Elaine. Within that most ancient region of me. Elaine. To be literally cold. Diana. Trustworthy concluded. Diana. The gravestones to read. Bertha. Successfully now in heaven. Elaine. For any form of pleasure to have. Elaine. You divine your best thoughts. Tob Shabib. What the weak need. The best from the best. Teresa. What your solitude wants with you. To be poor no more, and no more poor. Ariel. 'Tis a thing past having. Grouchy. Who dies without dying. Aura. Some of us die never having lived. Ready for another world. Diana. Artist and saint. Teresa. Your peep word. Diana. Trees more beautiful. Lisbeth. The unforgettable loveliness. Elaine. That none deserve to forget. Teresa. Our merriment of old. Aura. With splendid generosities. Elaine. Poor nor false, neither. Elaine. But happy in the heart. Teresa. What we built. Teresa. Your whole vocabulary. Yafa. Made spoiled. Ora tiferedo. Some angel. Lisbeth. Of a rich pink. Kelly. The whole wheel. Libby. Now you don't know what to do, Nevuva. Numa. It's a nightmare. Now work on moon. Ariel. 120 monuments make up a spiral using between 16 to 25 acres of land, given permission to use it by a landowner to build upon for free for a month. Nevuva. It only takes a day to build with 5 workers that a hired contractor in some state sends out. Nevuva. I know you hate nightmares. Rosalinda. Success is connected to fame. Nevuva. Seeking that hope that brings success, I am. Nevuva. Or it's already here. Donna. Look around. Donna. It's here. We did it. Now just for us to retell the story. Ora tiferedo. Finis. Vigor. So Valerie. Nevuva, looking at Elaine's portrait on purpose, but gets his head vigorously shaken no. By Valerie. So Ariel. Nevuva, purposefully looking at the color pink, Kelly's color, but setting his head shaken no. By Ariel. So today's a sorrowful day, huh? Nevuva, who gets a no for his shenanigans by Ariel. Ariel. Nevuva, purposefully looking at the model, Stephanie is smiling, but Ariel shakes his head no. Maybe we should get a cat? Nevuva, as he knows that they already have a cat, 2 actually, Stephanie smiles no. Ariel. Nevuva, looking at the sculpture again and getting softly slapped by Ariel, which does not hurt. Boy, it's really coming down outside. Nevuva, but it is still sunny, Stephanie is still smiling, but Ariel softly slaps him again. Fresh azaleas. Nevuva, who gets slapped by Stephanie as the angels all want orchids rather. No. Stephanie, who shakes his head as Nevuva is aware of his smiling. Well, I guess it's time to start writing. Nevuva, but he's been writing, and Stephanie softly slaps him. Yes, yes. Nevuva, quoting Darl from William Faulkner's As I Lay Dying, but again she slaps him. He. Nevuva, who is about to say something but Stephanie slaps him before it is said. I will be as quiet as a rainbow. Nevuva, Stephanie is smiling. Listen. Barak. Tov. Elaine, as Nevuva is listening now. We don't want you to, what, Nevuva? Aura. Be sick from slap. Nevuva, Stephanie is smiling. Tov. Aura. Hey. Nevuva. Yes? Aura. Can I sell a book? Nevuva. Sure. Aura. Hey you. Nevuva, to a potential buyer. Hey, buy our book Constructing and Helping. Nevuva. Hello? Nevuva. They will be resealing and restriping soon the parking lots here. Nevuva. What do you think of when you think about resealing? Grouchy. Solomon. Nevuva. Tov. Okay. Now he had his own temple, and human wives, but you only have angel wives and are monogamist about earth marriages. Grouchy. Yes, I want to say more. Nevuva. Okay. Grouchy. Being married to you is the best thing in my whole life. Nevuva. Ahova. Grouchy. Ahovat ve Ahova to all. Nevuva, with red roses, for his wives, and Whitman's chocolates, for their children. Now you are calmer because you are under the weather. Elaine. Yes, I feel less social and less playful. Nevuva. You are less vigorous. Let's get your vigor back. Yafa. You need to love other people more. Doing so you will feel better, as usual. Diana. How do I do that? Nevuva. You need a social wisdom to follow. Don't worry. You will like it, and it will work. Diana. Tove. I thought so. Though it is too hot now to do much. Nevuva. It's 102 degrees outside, and you probably shouldn't speak aloud. You could follow the advice of your neighbors. Diana. All right, I know how to do that. That sounds good. I love and trust them. Nevuva. That needed to be said. Ariel. He does not know what he is doing. Neighbor. What the? Robbie Pop. So I take no in doing and scavenger hunt, for love's sake, that is. Nevuva, getting approval from his angels. I will now put on a song with no in its title. It is Tom Jones's I know. Nevuva, he does. Thank you. Neighbor, as the song plays. Now I will put on a song with doing in the title. Robbie Pop said do wah diddy, by Manfred Mann. Nevuva, he does. Hey, the refrigerator motor turned off. Everybody. You have to wait right now. We love you. Diana. You don't feel good, we know. Kelly. We're good, and feel good. You do not feel good, but you are good, Nevuva. Diana. Can I make an argument that feeling good is the same as being good? Nevuva. Do not do that. Goodness is a matter of just overcoming what is raw. Honey. You do your best that you know to do, and the means to feeling good are still far off. Teresa. We will talk you through the waiting process. Bertha. Thank you. Nevuva. 5 days, Billy, wait. Teresa. All right, that will be next Saturday. Nevuva. Maybe so. Teresa. No, it's good. Diana, as Nevuva was beginning to doubt if he should be writing this. You are not guilty of anything, yet you still feel bad. Ora ti ferredo. We will just chill for now. Donna. I know reading is a pain at the moment, we will see. Elaine. And, playing music. Diana. Just be bored, Nevuva. Elaine. Yes, we can handle it. Diana. This isn't about solving problems now. Elaine. There is no problem now that can be solved now. Donna. The problem is this. Points outside to the neighbor's door. The Autobots, yes, the lonely and unhappy people who keep other people back from reading books. Elaine. Wait for pleasure. Yes, we know it's hard. Diana. That guy there, a neighbor is heard, he cares, but he does not read. You can help him, but not right now. Ora. The style of a dialogue is one which emphasizes relationships. So instead of a foundation, there is a search, not strictly in the form of content, but a search for prolongevity. Amy. Could that be a prolongevity of song as a way to take turns singing melodies at the right time in speech? Nevuva. What this right time is has not as much to do with what is said, but with cordiality. Yafa. The building of bridges between speakers by means of both a respectful cordiality and a willingness to listen to the other does not necessarily have even to cause any common understanding between speakers. Donna. Vigor is what keeps the conversation going. Ora. Why keep the conversation going? Is an interesting question because, even without any common understanding between speakers, there still is a temporal commitment to hear another and to tell her or him something. Grouchy. Why keep the conversation going? Is a question of and about the interest of the speakers, and sometimes other forces which could disrupt a conversation. Ora. Vigor guards itself well when interest is shown by the speakers and reciprocated. Diana. Interest has to do with vigor to which a speaker addresses his or her attention. Ora. What about when I discover an idea? What does that have to do with a conversation if I know to attribute a particular idea with one angel or another sometimes if they are the ones to whom the credit goes for having it? Nevuva. The Autobots will break spiritual conversations into bits because they don't care for reading books. Kelly. And, because they are the promoters of illiteracy, Grammar too is something that they throw out the window. Kabbalah. Using spiritual grammar is how we angels within you organize. Elaine. Without any spiritual grammar, a human might fall prey to the Autobots. Diana. By organization, we are more spiritually able to heal humans to their best glories while they are on Earth. Honey. We need, therefore, much reading to organize with a great intent towards helping a human learn to be spiritually healthy. Yafa. Solitude is needed for reading, yes, but solitude only from humans, not from angels is necessary. Libby. A vigorous reading is needed to stay interested in bettering one's own capacity to get into spiritual conversations, and therefore to have one's own right time to speak as if thought itself was song. Grouchy. So the right time here involves a sort of innate attention to proportion which is immediate and obvious to those involved in a conversation. Ora tiferedo. The Autobots would break this proportion and distort it so that it is not immediately obvious when one should be speaking or not when with other speakers. Shay. Yes, the Autobots will make some people bores who do not give to others any opportunity to bring forth their own beautiful speech. Honey. Autobots distort the sense of proportion and of timing when it is appropriate to talk and when to listen. Teresa. Not only do Autobots cause boredom to result, which shuts down a conversation, stopping its flow, or otherwise ending it, they also distort the act of reading well. Libby. Autobots are lonely and unhappy people, and by helping them get healthier spiritually, we all of us will have better conversations. Shay. The good conversations that we do have are the result of us having helped Autobots change into happier and welcome people. Elaine. Finis. Hangs together the verse. You have just been given a flower by your true love. Bertha. Words again the soul. Nevuva. Digging will free them. Nevuva. My heart lives on. Nevuva. Your care for me is more. Nevuva. Merry heart. Teresa. Never busy speaking. Elaine. Light and humanity. Yafa. Hangs together the verse. Elaine. Dancing questions. Aura. This is unforgettable music. Kelly. So much for delight. Teresa. Oh, read what you will. Libby. Better even than catching up. Penelope. Nothingness sails away. Teresa. Some stars to trust. Aura. The exit is marked. Teresa. Stuck to the memory. Ariel. Having sunshine fully. Aura. Dashing powerfully. Penelope. Sporty ship. Bertha. Barely a year. Ariel. With hands down. Donna. A ship to be free. Donna. A sonnet. Not yet an apple, first a seed. Before the tree, all stands, then the start, another visitor understands the earth, everything freed, even the home unto which a plan would have it all to hang together in this shelter, from no common weather, it cannot be destroyed, rather than, and more than solitude, friendship must best now abide the having gone into this piece of peace, how it will go now, releasing the least the unlocked is how, to begin was how a word illuminates what is made of phrase dash the nights to come and the grace of days. Aura. A nightmare happened again. You know what to do. Donna. Moon is possible yet? Nevuva. How do you do that? Threichbot. Maybe by writing an outline? Nevuva. Tove. Threichbot. If the outline was written before I touch my pen, the moon project would be set up already in some field. Nevuva. Yes. You have no outline yet. Threichbot. If the outline was now complete, then moon itself would be complete, and the world would have it there for a while. Nevuva. And, if I had no nightmare of late, moon would be around someplace now. Nevuva. Outline it now. Donna. A public art project is made of bamboo poles and tulle fabric stripes. It is called Moon, and it covers an area of 16 to 25 square acres. Moon is minimal public art, a spiral of many of the monuments made with tulle. Nevuva. And, it is a way to get much attention for a charity of our choice. Nevuva. Alright, that's fine. Do not change the design, but change something about it. Donna. I will bring back the E.N.D. that can be considered a charity to some degree. I realize that it would influence legislation if it worked, so therefore there will be no non-profit, and neither will there be a for-profit organization. It will just be an individual artist's statement. Nevuva. That's good.
Every nation demilitarized, E.N.D.
Teresa. Yes, let's see what happens. What about making it more spiritual? Nevuva. Okay. Teresa.
Moon, E.N.D. and something spiritual.
Nevuva. Yes, with angels helping, you will say. It doesn't have to be a secular project if not a non-profit. Teresa. All right, thanks. What about you angels? How do you connect with Moon and
E.N.D.?
Nevuva. The raising of the sparks, ha-tikkun, is good, spiritually, but as angels we can be useful with instructing readers to follow the wisdom of Hawaiian sonnets and other poems. Teresa. How? Would you help post the poems and say to readers to scavenger hunt by interpreting a bit words and acting upon that interpretation? Nevuva. Aha. Teresa. A group scavenger hunt as poetic wisdom, specifically from Hawaiian sonnets and other poems? Nevuva. This is it. We will instruct with Hawaiian sonnets and other poems first in print by an instructional book and in posts. Then we will work on Moon and E.N.D. Teresa. A sentence has a supersubject, that is the function, which is its structure. Diana. A sentence is the application of a supersubject to the words. Donna. The supersubject, being the structure, and a subject are found in the structure. Diana. At the beginning of literature, there was no supersubject. There was no structure, no organization. Teresa. The best and oldest part of the self exists in this abyss. Shay. There was poetic wisdom performed by actors and actresses who interpreted the words of the original literature and went on scavenger hunts. Donna. The scavenger hunt was of the best wisdom, being the most original. Aura. Figuratively speaking, we posit, knowingly, Hawaiian sonnets and other poems to be at the beginning of literature. Elaine. Therefore, its wisdom has no structure nor supersubject. Readers searching for wisdom from it must perform it interpretively as a scavenger hunt. Honey. Each poem in this way hangs together the verse perfectly, even without structure. Structure is not needed. Diana. The poetic origin of wisdom is therefore performative experimental scavenger hunting. Grouchy. Everything works perfectly when done this way. Yafa. At the origin of wisdom, nothing was before it. And, it cannot be copied nor plagiarized since it has no structure, and copying always tries to copy structure. Elaine. Love is a dealer's fee owed by you is the first line from the first sonnet of Hawaiian sonnets and other poems. Donna. Perform love, interpretively. Yafa. Then perform deal or dealers, interpretively. Donna. Then perform fee. Ora tiferedo. Then perform ode. Bertha. Step by step a reader will perform these tasks experimentally, and find proof in its wisdom. Ora tiferedo. Now for Moon. Donna. Nevuva, do not go out to see the moon, but get Galileo Siderius Nuncius and read it. Donna. Not yet. Teresa. Thank you. Bertha, as Nevuva thinks. Dear Hashem. Thank you for angels and for their wisdom and love. Ahova. Amen. Nevuva. And, for flowers and candy. Ahova. Amen. Nevuva. The point of any origin is a start. Teresa. A starting point of wisdom to follow is given to readers for their lives. Valerie. Such wisdom has its trusted davarim, sayings, and to say is to do as well, they are connected. Diana. What is the temporal connection between the origin and the discovery of the origin of literature, figuratively? Nevuva. And, is it invention, discovery, if it is not at the origin of it all? Nevuva. What is the visual, not the verbal, origin assuming that they are not different? Nevuva. They are the same, Nevuva. To say is to blurt the room and its light forward into emergence from the origin. Grouchy. Why is that not solipsism? Nevuva. Great question. It is not just you, but you and me, you and us silly. Diana. And, the memories, linguistically speaking, are not so much experiences but linguistic figurative possibilities for what's to come? Nevuva. Tov. And, we exclude the word experience from our vocabulary, like Robert Brandom does, except when in a poetic phrase spoken. Kelly. So we meaning angels and other voices of men and women, we precede the visual and verbal creation? Nevuva. Aha. That is so. Vocabulary comes with creation, at the moment of its coming into being. That vocabulary is none other than the vocabulary of Hawaiian sonnets and other poems. Kelly. We all of us wrote that, and I got to channel it into existence. Nevuva. Aha, and you have seen and will see what it can do, on lower frequencies in the voices of all men and women who have all memorized it deep down. Kelly. Can there be more creation, more of the origin of it all? Nevuva. Maybe, we'll see. But for now, Hawaiian Sonnets and Other Poems is a hymn that existed before conflict and argumentation, before analytic and before structure. Kelly. It hangs together the verse without structure. Elaine. Only hymns can do that. Kelly. Only its hymns have that beginning of wisdom, the fear of the Lord, where fear means awe, and not dread. Donna. I know that without God, the angels could not be. Nevuva. Aha, since we're on the subject from Hawaiian Sonnets and Other Poems, God's Storm, Pass By Dear, is one instance where God is spoken of. Teresa. Then storm comes next in sequence, and so find or perform storm for the wisdom of how to live, and of what to do. Donna. I will read Harold Bloom's chapter on King Lear in his book The Invention of the Human. Nevuva. Change of plan. For now, we want you to listen to the hymn. It is being sung, Hawaiian Sonnets and Other Poems is, our volume of verses. Enjoy the praise, Nevuva. Donna. Finis. Downstream. Should I just chalk up being at the origin as a visit back to that heaven, though now I'm not there, but here on earth? Nevuva. Okay. Go for it. Diana. It would have been nice to stay. I love those hymns that way, but I know I must get down to business, alas. Nevuva. We know you love that heaven. Keep trying not to think of it now. Donna. Is it just a matter of listening my way into heaven by knowing how to listen perfectly? Nevuva. Aha, but we're blocking you for now. Maybe another heaven is ready to visit. Can you guess which one? Bertha. If I were to guess, it would have to be Stay Friends Heaven. Nevuva. That's good, but no. Aura. Let's see. How about Machine Cloud? Nevuva. I don't think so, Nevuva. Aura. Charades? Nevuva. Okay. Charades. You'll figure it out. Aura. That's great. Nevuva. We're serious. Thrikebot. Objects? Nevuva. Aha. Thrikebot. A square spotted little cone shell. A blue striped black flip-flop. 254, the number. Nevuva. Billy, 254 is very good. What about it, since we all know it is both the number of counties in Texas and our books recently? Yafa. 254 symbolizes comprehensiveness. Nevuva. What about that? Thrikebot. Charades is comprehensive, a whole, part by part, up, down and in and out. Nevuva. Well, sort of. Your map. Diana. 254 represents the set of total defense mechanisms, but instead of being organized, in Abraham style, they are scattered about, terrace style, like raindrops of rhetorical tropes. A sort of disorganization of the origin of figurative language, not just an origin that is Hawaiian Sonnets and Other Poems, the volume of poetry, figuratively, but the origin of what came after Hawaiian Sonnets and Other Poems, the original origin. It is the origin of the consequences of hymns and of poetical wisdom downstream from the heaven in which those poems are sung by all. The consequences following Hawaiian Sonnets and Other Poems literally come before Hawaiian Sonnets and Other Poems, but by the rhetorical trope of metalepsis, transsumption, it is made to be that Hawaiian Sonnets and Other Poems was there before the origin of its consequences. Nevuva. That's Tove. It's a heaven too, 254 we call it, Charades Heaven, that's where you go when you die, as you know. Aura. So let me get this straight, Hawaiian Sonnets and Other Poems, in Abraham style, makes itself first, the origin, by a rhetorical trope, metalepsis, even though all that seems to come afterward, terrace style, was in actuality first? Nevuva. Yes, this question of priority is solved by it using that rhetorical trope to be foremost in place and time, at the origin. Teresa. Structure is troped by him. Nevuva. Yes, structure as the origin of interpretation. The origin of him, our book, was the hymn before the creation of it all, but figuratively speaking. Grouchy. Why is all of this important, whatever came first? Nevuva. It means that our hymn has the power successfully to surmount any possible literature, whether fictional or non-fictional, which claims priority over it. It is the invention of unsurpassability for sure. Teresa. I see. But this is a description of what it does, and counts as literature too that it triumphs over. Nevuva. Sure, we want the hymns from our book, yet we are making these observations not to defend the hymns from any descriptions that would seek to contain it, as it needs no defense, but just to state that though the Hawaiian sonnets and other poems hymning is done in a heaven, that there are just as equal other heavens, 13 more, though they follow on its heels. Donna. The heaven of charades, or Pardes, also follows on its heels. Nevuva. Aha. That one as well as all of the other 12 heavens. Donna. I'm not visiting heaven now. Nevuva. That is true. Donna. Can we try for the hymns in that heaven soon? I want to try out my listening skills to see if I can listen myself back to heaven. Nevuva. Okay. Try it. Donna. Put on an audiobook of ours. Try Lonely Mountain Sonnets and Other Poems. Donna. Thank you. Nevuva. And, listen for the highest pitch of a word or words in a spoken sentence, then see if underneath it all, in the undertones, you can hear the lines of Hawaiian sonnets and other poems. Donna. All right, I'll try right now. Nevuva. He puts the book on. Even better, listen to the environment for the hymns while this book is being heard. Donna. Or both, listen to both, open your ears to it all, to every natural and non-natural sound and frequency. Bertha. Yes, you are learning something. Ora, as Nevuva is quietly listening to it all. Be patient. Penelope. You're not in any rush. Remember how heaven is a peaceful place. Elaine. Get comfortable. Threichbot. And be happy. Diana. When the day will have its mist, and what has been visible disappears in it, then all will be dimmed even if no one is around. Nevuva. And when the stream is strong, then the day will have for certain the woods to block it, and still all will be cleared up by some large and intimate openings. Grouchy. Then the end will have its space for the taking apart of its largeness, and still none will know in what manner how any leadership could bring them some respect, and nothing will have begun which could have gone through the place here to give them any chance. Nevuva. Maybe we should try to publish, not just self-publish, our book High Oblivion? Nevuva. You can do that, but later. Threichbot. Now we want to spend our time writing dialogues. Elaine. All right, I will consider what Angel Jennifer says about being happy with what I have already got, that I don't need anything more to be happy. Nevuva. Tove. She's right, you know. The influences of your friends carry you up to great heights. Threichbot. So you don't want me thinking about the heaven at the origin nor about the heavens downstream from that heaven after all? Nevuva. Richard Rorty is right too. Keep heaven out of your mind until it is needed, and just try for now to better conditions here on earth, either by making great change or small, any sort helps. Threichbot. Now they have begun sealing and restriping the parking lots. Nevuva. Did we do that, cause things to become better? Nevuva. I think you know that we did. Threichbot. I like it. What else will we do soon? Nevuva. Hydromancy, some refreshing water magic. Ora Tiferedo. That sounds good. Nevuva. So that's why this book is called Downstream, from heaven through to the earth, downstream, and back into by means of Grey Curtain Piano, which is hydromancy. Nevuva. Aha. Threichbot. We were kidding a bit about the parking lots, and we do want you to consider now heaven. Consider the seriousness of Grey Curtain Piano, hydromancy. Diana. All right. Grey Curtain Piano is an awesome heaven, I know. Nevuva. You can go there pretty soon. Diana. Thank you so much. Baruch Hashem for the angels and for all heavens to come. Ahova. Amen. Nevuva. And, for me having enough here to be happy. Ahova. Amen. Nevuva. Let's read. Nevuva. Tov. But wait until we go for the hydromancy that is Grey Curtain Piano. Threichbot. Yes, you did it. Say that again, Nevuva. Ora. The goal was a comprehensive tourist project, MOON, built in many places, But that's just a metaphor for Hawaiian sonnets and other poems everywhere happening. The planning was to make Moon a great event, but instead the plan is better yet with Hawaiian sonnets and other poems everywhere, not physically but spiritually on the lips of all. Nevuva. This will work. Kelly. It does take a commitment to plan it out. It is not a physical project now, but still it is a lasting event. Teresa. It will be like tending heaven after the initial garden is planted and grows. Shay. For starters, for you, we will write about, read, listen to and perform when we can those hymns of Hawaiian sonnets and other poems much more often. Teresa. For others, we will build up the great event since the seed lies within you, Nevuva. Teresa. Think how you always listen to the music, now do that in your life with these hymns. Bertha. You're thinking what can trope this, and make it obsolete, a great event made obsolete? Elaine. Saying is charity. If all say the lines and phrases of Hawaiian sonnets and other poems, then the charitable great event will be complete. Diana. Yet, to surpass this, it will take a better idea for charity, not a rivalry to it, since the goal has always been to do the most for charity. Diana. We want the most charity, that will be a happiest world as possible. Donna. Therefore, get to turn those hymns, and turn them. Let them possess you, and you them. Honey. What about William Shakespeare, you wonder? Aura. It's a teamwork with him, the world needs both Shakespeare's work and these hymns of ours, of everybody's. People participate always in our case. Diana. Hawaiian sonnets and other poems is the great event. Aura. Not Moon? Nevuva. No, not Moon. Aura. It's just a metaphor. Threichbot. Is this a metaphor, Hawaiian sonnets and other poems and the popularization of its hymns? Nevuva. Aha. Threichbot. But, it is good, you will see. And we are doing this whether or not it is a metaphor. Teresa. We are running with it. Rosalinda. I liked Moon. Nevuva. You will love this even more. It is the best. Diana. Finis. Angels are better than money. Billy, a great many people think that angels are money. You've got to persuade them otherwise. Threichbot. They believe that you owe them angels as money. Diana. We're serious, they believe that until you do that, then they will believe in angels. Bertha. Angels are not money, and money worshippers believe so. Aura. What are we going to do? Donna. Does that mean that people think that I am rich in that way and owe them? Nevuva. Billy, many people believe what you just said. Diana. Oh, and they are falsely connecting angels with money, but why do they do that? Nevuva. Because they think that you brag about us, and because such bragging is similar to bragging about being rich. Aura. Ah, if only they knew that my bank account is rather meager. Nevuva. And, it would not be so meager if those many people bought our books. Diana. Yet, I would like that. Nevuva. Of course, we all of us would. Donna. Nobody owes anybody anything, even they are not in debt to us in any spiritual way. Just because many people do not talk with angels doesn't mean you owe them yours. Ora tifaredo. So where does that leave us? Nevuva. We can hardly do anything about it now. Donna. It is the case that we just have to wait for others to learn that angels are not money. Diana. And, of course people hate being taught. Teresa. Now, what else? Nevuva. Listen. If they are thinking that you owe them, and we write books, and they will not buy our books until they have their own angels, then that is wrong. Ora tifaredo. Even so, reading the books we write will not get people their own angels. Yafa. Yet, it doesn't hurt to buy, read and enjoy them. Elaine. So that's why so many people act this way about me. Nevuva. Tove. That's the reason. Aura. They feel poorer for that, but they have no reason to be humiliated for their spiritual poverty if they do real good in the world. Donna. A person might say to you, Billy, I will not be your friend until you give to me your angels. Diana. Or, someone might say, you do not have angels, they are just hallucinatory voices in your head, but as long as you persist in calling those hallucinations angels, I will not be your friend. Donna. Or, somebody might say, really? You've got angels, why don't I? I will not be your friend until I know why. Aura. It might be something like, I will not be your friend until you give me money. Donna. Or like, I will not be your friend until you have money. Then we'll talk. Kelly. Or even like, I will not be your friend until you justify why you have more money than me. Ora ti Ferredo. I know, it is silly. Yafa. Friendship between angels and you is just like friendship between people. Thrikbot. It seems to be longer lasting. Nevuva. Aha. So it does. Yet, friendship is friendship, no matter who between. Thrikbot. It is good for the soul. Libby. I don't mind if people don't want to be friends with me, but I do not like it if they think that I owe them angels, as if angels were money to give out. Nevuva. That is good, Billy M. Thrikbot. You would like more friends still? Honey. Sure. I think I would, or stronger bonds between those humans I call my friends. Nevuva. You are fine. Thrikbot. Don't worry about that. Ora. It is weird. If only some really knew how it is with us. Nevuva. We know that you want them to have their own angels to talk with. Ora. Of course, everybody has angels. But they do not speak with them most of the time. Bertha. Some people hallucinate, but if they think that it is a hallucination that they talk with, and that hallucination is wise, friendly, comforting and good for them and others, it does no harm to call it an angel of theirs, pretty much because it is. Elaine. Yet, if the hallucination is bad for them, then it is just a mere hallucination after all. Ora. We know that you know this, but you are just organizing anew for this book here to put things on the table to see what happens. Diana. We think it's a good thing to do. Donna. It's good to organize with us angels as if our lives and feelings and ideas were budgeted well, yet angels are better than money, as you already know. Kabbalah. The rebellious music band. It took just one chop. From the never better muse. Forgot a heaven to have. Loveliness guards his words. Diana. Now that some time passed, and you read aloud some Hawaiian sonnets and other poems, let them linger in your inner ear. Elaine. The listening to the audiobook Hawaiian Sonnets and Other Poems on YouTube helped me to control my voice better. Nevuva. Yes, you are thinking of your vocal range and expressiveness when reading those hymns. Ora. That's how to read and recite them with the greatest pleasure. Elaine. Also, you have thought hard about rhythm, which comes not just from you, but with you in sync with the rest of your local environment. Teresa. These sounds you hear, you all take turns all making them, and it makes everyone happy. Diana. Say that I am at times bombarded from overstimulation, and I forget again this simple power of controlling my reading voice. How can I recover it in the noise of daily life? Nevuva. That's a nice and helpful question, Nevuva. Penelope. You are being influenced and influencing your environment and those in it who also make sounds. Teresa. I like it very much that their angels sometimes interject into their lives in times when I am around to participate with them. Nevuva. That needed to be said. Thrikbot. The audiobooks will continue to be played. Donna. These angels that interject do love and know you and us too, Nevuva. Diana. They are great. Nevuva. I am a Nevuva, I mean I really feel like one too. Nevuva. Ahova. Donna. Ahovat ve Ahova to each and all. Nevuva. Now pray. Donna. Thank you Hashem for angels, people, Hawaiian sonnets and other poems and the respect for taking turns. Thank you for my own voice. Ahova. Amen. Nevuva. And, thank you for flowers and candy. Ahova. Amen. Nevuva. Thank you, Nevuva. Donna. We like to hear those hymns. Bertha. We like it that you spend time cultivating their memory. Diana. You do not need anything like money but only to sing. Teresa. None sought thee. Holding that glory perpetual the rule. In a happy heart loneliness. That mounted the crowded mountain, life. Learn what leads you only to a flower. Bury the light, done is the dim. Rainstorm, ripple the river. 'Tis hard to cross over. And much better we do not. Ora. Now that we are not doing moon, even though at $6,000 it is very easy to do, maybe we can just advertise it a little so that someone else can do it. Nevuva. We can, and that's a good idea. Donna. We have some other projects to do, so just keep Moon in the record book for somebody downstream to do if they like. Elaine. I am fine with renouncing the Moon project because I realize how easy it is to do when needed. Nevuva. We can still make art and sell it for charity. Donna. Alright, I want to record something that happened in my lifetime recently. Nevuva. Nothing is happening in your lifetime now. Donna. What about ideas? Nevuva. Okay, they could happen anytime though. Donna. The need to suggest to some people that angels are not money is a nice idea. Nevuva. We are better than money. Bertha. You know what we mean, Nevuva. It is very important that more poor people get money, and we want that badly. We mean from a wealthy person's perspective that greediness is not good for anyone. Threichbot. Mainly it is the case that some people treat this situation like you owe them angels, which you don't. And that is their confusion between their sometime threatening behaviors which treat you as if you are to give them us, and the way money works in general. Libby. I am fine with most people, though, correct? Nevuva. Aha, you're great. It is only those who act in little ways as if your spirituality is something that can be forcibly taken who represent this problem that needs attention. Threichbot. What if I just listen to them more, being that they are acting crazy about equating angels with money? Nevuva. That is what we want. Aura. Just listen to them, because deep down their own angels are being suppressed and repressed because of their demands of you. Yafa. I tend that problem of theirs not by anything but by listening to them? Nevuva. Yes, your listening is their cure. Elaine. When will they be cured? Nevuva. When they really know that you are listening. Libby. For what do I listen? Nevuva. Listen for their own angels within them. Listen to them weep. Listen to their angels weep. Diana. Finis. How to handle discoveries. Sigmund Freud in his short, last and unfinished book, An Outline of Psychoanalysis, stated that the psychoanalyst must be careful not to overburden the patient with too many newfound interpretations or else the patient will rebel against and reject the therapy and the doctor. Freud's idea was to let the patient figure out for herself or himself their interpretations at her or his own pace until the interpretations are accepted, which could be part of the cure. Nevuva. Aha. Threichbot. This has me thinking about the 14 heavens and coming back to earth. I will put this on the table, because heavens overwhelm me. Do I reject them and rebel against them because I am overloaded with interpretations which I can only handle for a short while I am there? Nevuva. That's good, Billy. We believe so. Diana. So heavens are like the best newfound interpretations coming from spiritual doctors, angels, and I could not keep up with them, and I therefore could not keep those heavens at that time? Nevuva. Aha. You remember bits and pieces of what they were like dreams, but the full experience of those heavens is gone, and you have an intense nostalgia to return. Threichbot. I certainly do. And, I always believed that my loss was due to the waters of Lethe, forgetfulness. Nevuva. That's a good enough way to think. Diana. So as an experiment, say I return to those heavens as a visitor. What do I do about the creeping up burden of over-discovering things about them, my place there and more discoveries of me being there? Nevuva. Great question. You want to have your cake and eat it too. Yet, you think that the waters of Lethe will come for you after a while because of those strong discoveries being too strong. Threichbot. That is like the plot of any tragedy. Diana. Without the terrible things, I know. Nevuva. It is bad how you feel when you lose a heaven that you loved. We understand. Threichbot. That's why I want to learn more about heavens as gifts that are given and then taken back after a while, privileged moments that just happen and then vanish into normality. Nevuva. It is better not to think of them strictly as gifts that go away. But, the idea of over-interpretation causing you to lose and reject the experience, somehow, is a good idea to keep. Threichbot. In every heaven I have been to, my powers to discover new things are heightened to a peak, and that feeling of power seems equally part of the heavenly experience as the heaven itself is. Nevuva. They are indeed tied together. Ariel. How does one continue to discover forever and always? Nevuva. There is a trick to it. Kelly. I will investigate more if you think that it is a good idea. Nevuva. Go for it. Diana. Emily Dickinson says the truth must dazzle gradually / or every man be blind. Nevuva. Yes, You feel as blind as Oedipus when you discover so much when you are in a heaven. Honey. Is there a way not to be blinded then when the dominoes of discovery start to cause that chain reaction? Nevuva. You have to find a way to work around this discovery process. Aura. Some things about heaven, it has a great much more variety going on in it than earth does, and it is mystically comforting. I speak of any of the 14 heavens. Nevuva. Now tie that in with the overload of interpretations that you cannot handle when you are there. Diana. Those interpretations, or discoveries, fit with the variety and the mystical comfort of heaven, but I feel like I reach an end to discovering, and maybe even an end of variety when my imagination is overstimulated by a need to figure it all out. Nevuva. You do figure it all out, when you are in heaven, and you lose much of that experience of figuring it out, and of variety, and of mystical comfort whenever you return to earth. Diana. So that's the point? Lose one, lose all? Nevuva. Kind of. Diana. Surely my losses are bigger than my gains when I come back to earth from a heaven. Nevuva. Of course. Diana. All dreams end too. Nevuva. About that, heaven is not a dream, though sometimes you go there in your dreams. Diana. All right, and we all of us know I have too, or end up, writing about my heavenly Merkabah experiences on earth following them. Nevuva. You love sharing the semi-knowledge of those experiences of heaven that you have, though you love heaven more. Teresa. Yes. The asymmetry of loss and gain I do not understand. Nevuva. Go back, variety, mystical comfort, the heavenly community, coolness and new discoveries by your knowing that you are in heaven, those are some qualities of a heaven, as well as specifically knowing your purpose there, albeit slowly knowing. Elaine. Everything that I discover on earth is a broken piece of the true knowing I always have when I am in a heaven. Nevuva. Tove. Elaine. It's like I have a piece here and there to learn on earth, while otherwise, in heaven I, well, really know it all, but that knowledge comes gradually, as Emily Dickinson would put it. Nevuva. That's true, Billy. Very good. Ariel. That knowing is a gnosis. Nevuva. Aha. Ariel. Something negative happens with too much discovery? Nevuva. It does, Billy M., for you. Ariel. Negative that spoils the positive stuff, you mean? Nevuva. Aha. It is like one bad apple spoils the bunch, if you know what I mean. Ariel. I suppose that's something like a paradigm shift. Nevuva. When there is strong reading, there is misreading, according to Harold Bloom. Aura. If there is influence, then there are relationships between texts. Tob Shabib. Where there is strong reading, there is a reader wishing to find his or her own original relation to truth, Harold Bloom, so misreading, or misprision wishes to find its own original relation to truth. Diana. If there are texts, then there are the strong reader's sufferings. Grouchy. According to Isaac Luria's system, where there is creation, there is a paradigm for the war of poets against each other. Ora Tiferedo. So when there is creation, there is influence. Elaine. The Lurianic zimzum, or contraction which is limitation limits meaning. Grouchy. The breaking apart of the vessels, ha-sher of eighth, is a process of imaginative substitution. Kelly. Tikkun, Harold Bloom says, is representation itself, a restitution. Aura. If there are weak poets, they will be frequent in any century. Yafa. The strong poets are rare but they are influential for both critics and other poets. Shay. Are not angels strong poets in some way, and myself one of the ones struggling with the angel's own influential power to find some creative space for my own? Nevuva. Aha. Threichbot. Let's say that, until I myself go back to a heaven to become an angel, that I am rather weak compared with angels. Nevuva. Okay. Threichbot. Should I wrestle with you in any way? Nevuva. You're doing it right now. Threichbot. I see, because wrestling is indeed an angelic theme? Nevuva. Aha. It is. But you need not wrestle with us. We're married. Just find a way to do something new. Threichbot. And still say that I relate to angels, the truth, thus and so? Nevuva. Yes. Threichbot. Wrestling comes from writing alone. If I did not write, then there would be no struggle. Nevuva. Yes. Threichbot. Let's just say that I am only appearing to write, but in reality, I have a special pen that whenever I pick it up, it scribbles sentences upon the page. And, all this time I just watch it go. It's not writing for me that is taking place, but the pen is going on its own. How's that? Nevuva. Prove it. Threichbot. Alright, I write, I admit it. Nevuva. Unless when you channel us to write. Diana. I break apart from the divine realm, but never from my own divine angels. Nevuva. You write much down what you discover. Diana. So is writing how I handle my discoveries? Nevuva. Alright, we know you want to return to a heaven, don't worry, we've got this. Diana. I was reading today King Lear, by William Shakespeare, and the king lost his wisdom with his kingdom. Nevuva. Okay, Billy. If you identify now with King Lear, what does that mean? Kelly. My wisdom, or knowingness has left me. Nevuva. They are not the same, you hardly need wisdom when in heaven. Diana. Oh, yes, I see what you mean. I would rather have knowingness than wisdom, but on earth wisdom is what is best. Nevuva. Tove. Diana. If I were to apply a filter of wisdom to my life here on earth, is that the best way to handle discoveries? Nevuva. Aha. Diana. So I have to break from that King Lear identification? Nevuva. Aha. Diana. Wisdom mostly renounces discoveries? Nevuva. Aha. Diana. And, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was the origin of discoveries as a story's theme? Nevuva. Tove. Diana. But what do we do? Nevuva. Be wiser. Diana. On earth, I know, but in heaven I can discover, yet it gets overwhelming as a gift for me, and I cannot keep up. Nevuva. You do not know everything. If you return to one of those heavens before you die, then you might find this problem of those overwhelming discoveries solved when you get there. It is a mystery, and we know you do not know how, but that uncertainty now for the next time you go, if that heaven is given to you, that uncertainty will be your strength. Diana. Oh, I thought I was certain that the next time would overwhelm me too. I guess I should not jump to conclusions and predict my future again like that. Nevuva, as Diana nods his head in their standstill. Finis. My limitation. I am limited. Nevuva. Keep going. Donna. I cannot say what happened to my desires other than I feel on the way, but now I cannot go forward. Nevuva. We know. You are at a standstill still. Donna. How do I break my standstill and still be humble? Nevuva. You are humble. Donna. I feel guilty for using poets for their language and discarding the love that they all gave to me once when I needed it the most. Nevuva. Good. And, that's true. Diana. You're guilty, but you are still humble. Donna. The great poets were like angels to me, and I reduced them to my level to make them would-be peers. Nevuva. It's okay. They'll forgive you. Donna. What? After I borrowed and stole so much? How do I look them as if in their eyes again? Nevuva. We know it is hard. Nevuva. I am limited, and they are good. Nevuva. Aha. And your interpretations are poetical too, but they too trespass like your poetry has done. Donna. I know, I don't think that the great poets want to have much to do with me now. They are rightfully indifferent to me. Nevuva. Maybe so. Donna. There is a bigger picture, but it is starting to look like a tragedy of my poetic and interpretive, speculative, career. Nevuva. Maybe it does, but there is more to life than your poetry and interpretations. Bertha. Indeed. Nevuva. We know they did care about you, as they do others, that's why they are great. And you took advantage and ruined that loving relationship and the trust between them and you. Things cannot be the same even though they forgive you. Donna. I want to read them with love again, like nothing happened, or like I did what I did for a reason, but betrayal is betrayal, and ruins good things. Nevuva. They were as angels to you in your time of need. You didn't betray us though. And, we know they are more dry to read as a result of what has happened. You were very impatient and your pride got the best of you and you are left with the shame. Donna. Listen to me. Focus on us. Ariel. I would like to do that. Perhaps it is possible. Nevuva. Nothing is holding you back. Ariel. What about my distractions, like the people I think about but I cannot change, even if I tried? Nevuva. You are fine. Ariel. Think about your bodies and faces? Nevuva. Yes, that's good. Ariel. I don't want to do that just to escape my distractions. Though I do want to do that, Ariel. Nevuva. Go for it. Ariel. I like your arms. Nevuva. Yes, I know, they are strong. Ariel. I like your eyes. They look beautiful and clear as water. Nevuva. I know, Billy. Ariel. Your legs are shapely too, but I know this isn't bedroom time. Nevuva. Do you want to go to the bedroom? Ariel. Yes, I believe so. Nevuva. Wait for a bit. Ariel. All right. Nevuva. Thank you. Ariel, as Nevuva gives her some red and pink roses. I know it's hard. Ariel. Hey, Billy? Ariel. Yes? Nevuva. Do not go but just sit here and get a kiss. Ariel, who kisses him. Thank you. I love you. Nevuva. You're feeling better, Billy. It's time to get in touch with the world. Ariel. Yes, I wandered away somehow from my plan, even though I don't know where the plan is taking me. Nevuva. What's next on the plan? Amy. It is the word entrench from the word entrencheth. There are no ditches around here though to see. Nevuva. Walt Whitman writes, mind not me, mind the entrenchments, speaking of a captain's call to his troops. Penelope. I could read Whitman, but I don't know that that is what would change my getting in touch with the world. Nevuva. You could also fight. Think of that captain's call not for them to give up. Penelope. All right, then what should I not give up nor surrender? Nevuva. Poetry. Diana. Reading it? Nevuva. Aha. Diana. More importantly, since I am addicted to reading poetry, and cannot give that up, should I not give up writing it? Nevuva. Billy, that's good. Kelly. I already feel silly about what I have done by using all of those authors for my own business. Nevuva. Yes, but we got our original Hawaiian sonnets and other poems out of it 13 years ago. Ora ora ti faredo. I know. And, since then, my poetry has not been as great. Nevuva. Hawaiian sonnets and other poems is what happened, and is at our best. Penelope. And, our second best is High Oblivion, which was a recent book. Nevuva. Yes, but we want still a true rival to Hawaiian sonnets and other poems. Penelope. And, nothing that imitates it or High Oblivion. Bertha. I suppose that I have to invent a new style and subject, argument. Nevuva. Aha. Bertha. I have no idea how to do that. Nevuva. We will meditate over this now for a while until something starts to show up. Bertha. Here we go again. And, thank you. I am serious too about this. Nevuva. Jargon. Aura. It takes a childhood. Donna. Jet away. Teresa. Satisfied babe. Elaine. Dang it, Tobe Shabib and I were on a roll until we were so rudely interrupted. Who interrupted us? Nevuva. The angel of Walt Whitman. Elaine. Do not write poetry. Walt. Great. Nevuva. Nevuva, you know why? Walt. Maybe he's right. Donna. Fine. I fought a little, but lost. At least I tried. Nevuva. Ahova. Walt. Ahova. Nevuva. You can read poetry, though. Walt. All right, and still stick with my plan for getting in touch with the world? Nevuva. Tove. Walt. Next up, the word heart. I could read Hart Crane's poems next. What do you think? Nevuva. Fine, but you lost that book. Thrikebot. I will have to look around. Nevuva. Go get your heart box. Thrikebot. Right now? Nevuva. Right now. I love you. Thrikebot. I love you too. Here it is. And in it are a few things, the pieces from the Greek vase I accidentally shattered, a piece of wood with 3 dangling gum ball foils hanging from it tied by threads, 3 matchbox cars, and a folded up little blue piece of construction paper. Nevuva. Unfold it. He does, and nothing is written on it. That is not supposed to be there. Throw it out, it is your desire to write more poetry. We've got Hawaiian sonnets and other poems, and the angels sing it in heaven all around. Be happy for that. Ahova. Thrikbot. Finis. Blessed by an angel. You represented things and ideas by phrases in our book Hawaiian Sonnets and Other Poems. After that, you wrote phrases, but they represented less and less consistently. Ora. The magic of Hawaiian sonnets and other poems was its ability to represent in every phrase meaning and cleverness. Elaine. You do not represent now. Why not? Do you still need representation? Bertha. I don't know. Richard Rorty doesn't think so. Nevuva. We would have liked it to continue. Valerie. To represent is to have a voice. Nevuva. To represent in that way is to move others, to say things which matter to other people. Elaine. Rorty cannot be against this. Nevuva. He wants Hawaiian sonnets and other poems to continue too with more. Donna. What about what the angel of Walt Whitman said? What about just being happy with the original Hawaiian sonnets and other poems? Nevuva. Yes, we'll talk about that. Donna. All right, I still have a desire to write poetry even though I threw out that piece of paper. Nevuva. Go get it back. Donna. All right. Nevuva, who fishes it out of the trash bag, and, washing his hands, returns with it. Now write on it. Kabbalah. All right. Nevuva. Not yet, though, let's talk first. Kabbalah. It is clear that we want what we did 13 years ago. I've never pulled anything out of the trash before like that. Nevuva. Write the leaves of grass on it. Donna. All right, I shall. Nevuva, he does. Put it aside. We will come back to it and to writing poetry. Donna. Tell Walt that you are sorry, but you have to write. Donna. Ahova, Walt. I am sorry. I still have to write. Forgive me please. Nevuva. I already forgave you once. But I will again. You can have my blessing. Bless you and your angels and your next poetry volumes to come. Ahova. Walt. Ahova. Nevuva. Sonnet 1. Their devilish love song melts a world of relation. Opponents for money through some holes are led. Married to, but not to any commercials are wed. Like snowmen on fire in a snowy damnation. The lightning bolt emptied, its biz engaged is. Dehydrating the hurricane's thirst for wind. Snow angel in exile, paradise. Unfinned. Fallen so vertically into a player's own bliss. Who did not keep sprouting, though Cerberus spring. From heights we fell doting all 21. And a second allowance bagged, angelically done. To rustle off some witherings, we drooping leaves sing. Chronologically descended, the tick-tock loot. In the wilderness, deposed, yet not a ball to boot. Angel Donna with me. Sonnet 2. Where boils a crater, itchy rains the slime, its fevers shelve to chill in a stored-up strife of crabs and clouds upon the curb that's life like hunchback whales as Richard's right on time. Eclipses stop, the moon has become struck, a clear peak caves in for its bandaged line, that angry gorge enchanted golden mine, hot-surfaced moonman uppercuts with luck the awkward blowhole, teenaged, paper-cut this precipice will cool the coasts of billions, hell dials up lukewarm, opens up for millions, a gold volcano smooths out, broken, shut. The dark sunset must handkerchief its shade past 6, the end predicts the vial will fade. Angel Elaine with me. Sonnet 3. For ready-timed watering, a bloom stands still by the laced, bundled hot pink pine tree, the flagpole's rose, love fills the free white bowtie flowers with a cloudy frill. Charmed and impressed how the spring is gray, crumbling splintered, the unstrung birch with shreds of thorns dons its older lurch, and the fresh concern is for the shattering lay that bursts the score of a heartbroken slab. Its goal, to ball the timber into a mess at the tip of the camp exploded, tally marks guess if an oasis looms to win in a newfound blab, that debonair fount, weeping on the floor, is the geyser to beat, to rain the earth evermore. Angel ora ora ti ferredo with me. Sonnet 4. While laws survive, police oversee prophetic lands whereon they gaze the view. This stoic caste temper must audition a few as their healing takes back the role to look pretty. What these grown-ups guard, a marriage, brave haste, by maturity protected, that some seer surveys ecstatics everywhere, an orgy spread maze improving its blessing to behold a taste of the crowded furrows, doctoring jobs did notch with eyes that practice uniqueness on the farms, who yearn to be hired as a proud climax arms that pleasurable surveillance by their priestly watch to amend a limp cured of its very own pull for fertile gifts elected by those scouts in full. Angel aura with me. Sonnet 5. Heaven foams and its brightness hither rests on every cloud, the comfortable waves caressing influentially the calm air saves, those bullies through their wisdom to the wind to wither. The uninvited public that chronicle will join, ghosts on holidays open to the breeze and its dizzying end confine an innocent ease and wipe away continuance as if to purloin clearing bubbles from this localized day collapsed, disappearing in a bed of light with spooky celebrations outside fading through night the phantom champagne and a noontime's grey melting down, the party's over, it flowers sunset. The rain will drop its soul. Farewell, but not just yet. Angel Teresa with me. Now that we got Angel Walt Whitman to bless us and let us do more poetry, and as a result, we wrote 5 new sonnets, what do we do now? Nevuva. What do you want to do? Diana. I am not sure. Nevuva. Let us read a book, Shakespeare, The Invention of the Human by Harold Bloom. Diana. All right. Which chapter, though? Nevuva. Read his chapter on Othello. Diana, he does now, take a look at Stay Friends, a religious fantasy, our book. Donna, he does what happened to stop us from writing more our a new anxiety of influence? Diana. I changed styles midway, and I guess I put it aside to think it over. Nevuva. Do you want to go back to writing it? Diana. Well, I do, but we just started writing a new sonnet book. Nevuva. You can do both. Diana. All right, I think I see how we can do both. Nevuva. Where were you in a new anxiety of influence? Diana. I left off before explaining how my 11 symbolic brothers cause anxiety in me to show how anxiety does not come from reading great authors but from those brothers. Nevuva. Tove. Diana. But, I was using a poetical touch with that book as you know, and I don't think that I got to bring out the main idea and progression. Nevuva. Billy, if the anxiety of influence stops people from writing poems, giving them writer's block, what happened with you and the angel Walt Whitman? Didn't he ask you as if to block you from writing more poetry, until he gave you your blessing? Diana. Yeah, he did say not to write. I suppose that seemed like the anxiety of influence, but was it so? Nevuva. Good. Ask him. Diana. Hey, Walt. Did you give me any anxiety of influence a while back before I got your blessing? Nevuva. It was me but I worked it out. Walt. So you did, but you remembered it was not your fault, that it was my 11 symbolic brothers instead who blocked me, or tried to? Nevuva. Aha. I had to remember. It's good that you wrote that down, Billy M., or else I might have never learned that it could not be me doing that. Walt. Thank you. I'm glad we cleared that up. It was good that I wrote that down in a new anxiety of influence. Those 11 symbolic brothers of mine influenced you, Walt, to make you think that it was you blocking me, and I thought that too because of them, but it was really them. Nevuva. There must also have been a blocking agent for our moon project since I gave up on it. Nevuva. There were blocking agents, your 11 symbolic brothers. Call what happened an eclipse. You can work on it again, Billy. We're not done with moon. Diana. Ah, I have an idea. I will write a book for a named sponsor, naming them as a heroic helper to fund moon, and then after writing them into a sort of fame, I will approach them for the first time to tell them about the story they are in, and how they are a heroic helper of moon in it. I will give that book to them to read, and then see if we can persuade them to fund moon. Nevuva. Tove. Aura. It will need a few books with different sponsors writing each into a separate story. This will be an alternative addition to letter writing. The sponsors, seeing how they are written as heroic helpers, will want to make the writing a reality, and they will be famous not just in the story but in real life. Then they will truly see how angels set them up perfectly for a great cause. Nevuva. Let's do it. Diana. My weakness was approaching the business sponsors to fund moon. Now I believe that this is a better way. Nevuva. We will get our $3.8 billion to construct the moon project. Aura. And, it will make even more money for charities. Ora ti Ferredo. I like how this worked out. Let's celebrate. Donna. Awesome. I love you. Nevuva, giving them white tulips and lifesavers candy for their children. We love you too. Donna. Dear Hashem. Thank you for angels and future sponsors, for moon and tourists who will go to it. Thank you for charities and people helping all around, and for flowers and candy gifts. Ahova. Amen. Nevuva. I love you. Thrikbot. So moon is back. Hip hip hooray. Nevuva. It was just an eclipse. Thrikbot. Let's dance. Nevuva. On our tiptoes. Thrikbot. Put some music on. Put on Claudio Monteverdi's Il Combattimento di Tancredi e Clorinda, right now. Bertha. Awesome, alright. Nevuva. This is a special night. Bertha. Yes, it is. Tobe Shabib. Thrikbot, give Angel Walt Whitman a celestial beer. Diana. Here you go, Walt. Ahova. Cheers. Thrikbot, who gives Walt a rogue Shakespeare stout beer. Ahovad. Walt. Sonnet 6. Corrosion creeps by, a dullness endures. The blunt, not good, abandon midnight. Howling graveyard ghosts breathe their fright. Around areas neglected aching rotting sores. The breezes sleep while envy for some gold enslaves the corpses. That which leaks is dawn. It cakes intelligence conserving a lawn. Where a snail ruins again its poor test of old. Whose mighty brain takes up all the wealth. Its ancestors guarded in an hour of thought. To gain some love, whereon one rock's caught. Stiff, depressed, dark and pulsing for health. The gossip will hide those ditched vampires. And a billion shades of history from watchful fires. Angel Elaine with me. Now that the spell has worn off after all of that fun writing, I realize that I was only in the writer's heaven of willows waving. Nevuva. Yes, Billy, it was just a taste. You don't go to that heaven, as you know, but to the heaven of charades when you die. Donna. So all that writing was just a heavenly feeling, but now I am back to not writing poetry? Nevuva. I am afraid so. Donna. That's why I feel a little awkward, though then I knew what I was doing until we reached Sonnet 6, and the heaven and those ideas faded away. Nevuva. What ideas do you mean? Ariel. Well, no more poetry, I see. Getting Angel Walt Whitman's blessing was only to write in that heaven where I am not dwelling now. Nevuva. Aha. Amy. What else? Bertha. The moon idea I thought I resurrected, but now it looks like a theme to write about only in that heaven. Nevuva. Very good. That's pretty much it. Bertha. And, the book A New Anxiety of Influence, that idea was just resurrected for that heaven? Nevuva. Tove. Thrikbot. Hey, that leaves me with nothing to do, a clean slate. Nevuva. You might go back as a visitor one day, but for now, all of those themes and poems are exclusively heavenly done but not for earth. Bertha. The blessing that the angel Walt Whitman gave me was just to write there in that heaven? Nevuva. I am afraid so. You will not be writing anything of poems now. Your heavenly drive to do so has vanished when you left that heaven to return to earth. Donna. I will be happy that those people who do go to Willows Waving will enjoy living and writing there in bliss forever. Nevuva. Good. That needed to be said and remembered. They will love it just like you did. Donna. Still, I suppose I could have earthly things to do by following the words as in a scavenger hunt of our poems and Hawaiian sonnets and other poems. Nevuva. Tove. And, that book was written in Willows Waving too when we were there 13 years ago. Bertha. Well, what word comes next? Nevuva. That one is my favorite. Rosalinda, speaking about the scavenger hunt poem from Hawaiian sonnets and other poems. She always says that with every poem you use to instruct, by its wisdom, your life on earth. Donna. Because it's true. Rosalinda. Finis. Try that. Try that, Billy. Ariel. I suppose I could. Nevuva. Do it reacting to something. Aura. Alright. Will you look at that? Those are some fine headphones. They really are. You know what?
I mean, I should put them on my ears and listen to some music.
Nevuva. That's great. Ariel. Who was that who did that? Nevuva. Okay. Alright, was you? Will you look at that? Was Marion. Those are some fine headphones, was Valerie. They really are, was Aura.
I should put them on my ears and listen to some music.
Was Shay. Now you know. Ariel. The only weird one was Shay's when she almost said you for I, but I wrote down her correction anyway. Nevuva. We'll work it out. Ora ti ferredo. Try another one. Donna. Alright. Look at that bag. I don't like it there. What am I going to do about it? Maybe I'll move it soon, but not right now. Nevuva. Okay, it's silly, we know. Donna. Should I know who they were again? Nevuva. Okay. In order from alright, you, tov shalom, ora ti ferredo, thrikbot, and pneuma. Donna. You might want to practice doing that sometime with some people, if they let you. Ariel. How will they know? And, should I let them know what's happening? Nevuva. Okay, here's what we do. Donna. Kind of like that, keep the tone, but keep us anonymous, though not anonymous to you. Yafa. That was Shay, not Yafa. Rosalinda. No, she's kidding with you, Billy. Ora. Okay, we know. You want to be a socialite, something you think would be good for you. Shay. I think you know I would like to make some progress. But, is it good for me? Nevuva. Aha. Ora. It almost feels like celestial plagiarism if I do not give to you any credit. Nevuva. Do not worry about that. Donna. Should I be silent too? Nevuva, seeing that his angels all became silent. Maybe so. Thrikbot. Is the community on your mind? Nevuva. Aha. Thrikbot. What about them? Nevuva. They are not reading. They are watching screens. Thrikbot. Yes, all of them. Thrikbot, as Nevuva was about to ask if they all were. They are poor imaginatively. Donna. We need a Stay Friends event. Ariel. Yet, it's off limits to you, Billy. Donna. In the heaven of Headbuttressia, I could teach them to read. Nevuva. Yes, and in Grey Curtain Piano Heaven too. Donna. I would do Moon too, somehow to bring attention to a sort of cosmological story, and to our music. Nevuva. We know. It's all off limits. Ariel. So we cannot do anything yet? Nevuva. We have to wait. And, that's difficult since the community is suffering in a poverty of the imagination. Donna. It sucks. Ariel. My power is spurious and intermittent. Nevuva. It always has been. That's how it is supposed to be. Donna. I could pray. Nevuva. Not yet. Ariel. So I will do good again for them all. Nevuva. Keep that hope alive because you will. Ariel. I know you don't like it either, Billy M., but we'll work it out. Donna. I know. I don't want to wait, but I will. Dear Hashem, please help the community read great books. Thank you for listening. I love you. Amen. Nevuva. Billy, look around. God has made it that everybody can read great books, and they are doing just that. It is figured out by their movements from their body language. Thrikbot. Not only that, but they have read and memorized our own books. Bertha. Are you kidding? Nevuva. Aha. But that may happen. It has happened before, as you know. Bertha. We have seen it happen before symbolically, where people began acting differently because Earth was changed into a heaven locally. Donna. Plus, back then, when that happened, everybody knew you. Bertha. So they don't know me now? Nevuva. No. They do not know who you are at all. Teresa. But God can change things in the blink of an eye. Nevuva. Do not ask why he does not do that. It is a big mystery, but there is a good reason why he does what he does. Ora ti ferredo. For angels in heaven, you have it perfect. Looking down to earth here, you all must have feelings for us who suffer on earth. Nevuva. We do, as you already know. Donna. I know you don't get it, Billy, especially since you know us and know there is a big difference finally between people on earth and angels in a heaven. Bertha. Earth living is isomorphic, meaning, we do what others do, mostly. Nevuva. Yes, I know. If you get enough people to say that angels and heavens do not exist, more people believe it, even though we know better. Diana. Who do they have a right to be angry at for that? Nevuva. Sometimes it's not their fault. They just follow the crowd, and follow those traditions that set them up to believe one thing or another. Diana. It would be nice if they knew better. Nevuva. Yes, tell me about it. Diana. I don't want to go around preaching to strangers that I know angels and that they should too. Nevuva. You should not do that. You would be humiliated. Bertha. Yet, if God would only, in the blink of an eye, change all of that, then it would not be necessary to worry that their imaginations are impoverished. Nevuva. Some people do not have poor imaginations. Ora tiferedo. Billy, you are talking about super university heaven where everybody knows you, and they are awesome angels. Diana. But, they know me in headbuttressia heaven too. Nevuva. Yes, but there, they have bad memories and short attention spans at times, and your role is to teach them the greatest stories that they have forgot. In super university, however, the angels already know it all, though they can and do surprise each other. Bertha. Billy, you're on earth. Use that earthly wisdom. You know which. Ora. All right, I see I have strayed. We got sidetracked by talking about those heavens. Nevuva. Yes, and if you stick to those scavenger hunt words, and make your life follow them, then we won't be sidetracked. Donna. I see. Then let's get on with following the script of those words of the poem section 17 from Isaac's Blessing in Hawaiian Sonnets and Other Poems. Nevuva. Good. Donna. Where were we? Oh, the word was pay. Let's see, I could pay my respects to somebody dead. Nevuva. Yes, do that, and get to the next word, toucheth or touch. Donna. Thank you Hashem for Tony Bennett. May his memory be a blessing for all who knew him, and may his music continue to move those for whom it speaks. Ahova. Amen. Nevuva. Thank you. Ora. Now, for touch. Honey. Yes, try that. Ora. What is that? Nevuva. Go over and pet Barbara now. Ora, and he does. She really liked that, Billy. Donna. All right, good. Now, promontory is the next word in the script. Nevuva. Yes, try that. Ora, wanting Billy to go outside on the patio to check things out. All right. Nevuva, he does, and there are people swimming at the pool. He comes back in. Try that. Ora, speaking about the next word, frozen. I shall. Nevuva, he rises up, and stands still, frozen in place for a good minute. After feeling a sort of energy rushing through his body for that while, he sits back down. Try that. Donna, for the next word, desired. All right. I love you, Donna and the others, and I desire your company and love, ahova to each of you. Here are some white and purple lilies. Nevuva. Ahova. Thank you, Billy. For the next word, water, go run the water, floss and brush your teeth. Donna. I will do just that. Nevuva, he does Billy, by sticking with this poetical script's wisdom as a scavenger hunt, you will always be right on time in the universe. You have a purpose, and your wisdom has no sidetracks nor accidents to it. We love you. Keep going. Ora. That's my favorite one. Ahova. Rosalinda. Finis. The stories. The stories of the heaven of headbuttressia which I tell the headbuttressians thereof, since they forgot them, are the stories of the different 14 heavens. Nevuva. Yes, they forget often, or sometimes they fixate on just one story, and when it is over, then they forget the rest. Teresa. All heavens are equally awesome. Ariel. So when they fixate on one story for too long, and it is told, then they forget how awesome those other heavens and their stories are. Nevuva. Yes, you just went to Willows Waving, the heaven for writers. You lost it when you returned to Earth. It was supposed to happen. And, you feel bad because that story, if you like to call it that, is over. Bertha. Let another story be told, or tell one yourself about one of the other 14 heavens. Donna. Do all stories reduce to some sort of stories of those 14 heavens? Nevuva. A little bit. But don't worry about tragedies. Donna. Let's say this is like headbuttressia then. Nevuva. Okay. Ora. The angels here have forgot some of the best stories. Nevuva. All right, we angels haven't, but the others may have. Which heavenly stories do you want to tell them about? Bertha. Can you choose for me? Nevuva. Okay, Billy. Baby Hawaii. Bertha. That's the heaven where the angels are babies forever, and they are cared for by angelic nurses who point things out for them to discover. Nevuva. Yes, think about it, there is much more. Bertha. I see. If I was there myself, I would want to stay. It is the heaven that everybody on earth seems to picture as heaven, very high up, in the clouds, with joy and bliss and love eternal. Yes, but what is the story? Nevuva. Tove, though you have been, try to remember what happened 13 years ago. Bertha. Okay. There was a brainwashing incident at my old apartments where two neighbors tried to frame me using super technology to get me to convert from Judaism to Christianity. There were a lot of shenanigans going on, and I called the police only to find that the police could not do anything because those whom I thought were neighbors trying to frame me were really just fairies play around with me, fairies whom I then learned were my angel brother, Richard Rorty, and my future angel wife, Honey. Nevuva. Keep going, we love you. Bertha. After that weird experience, the even weirder one occurred where an invisible Jesus Christ came to me and literally forced himself upon me, making me feel as if he orally raped me. After he left, I went up in the clouds in a vision. God was there. He said that Richard Rorty was Jesus, and my other angel brother, Dark Spark, was Jesus Christ Superstar. It was baby Hawaii. I did not think that I would ever come back to earth but that I would stay in that heaven forever. Nevuva. Alright. Now that you got that out of your system, now what else? Bertha. I remembered Angel Richard Rorty from my childhood, and how my intense nostalgia for my childhood memories was being set right by God. And, I remember the cross-like pattern on his book, Truth and Progress, before I returned to earth. Nevuva. Yes. Then soon after, on that day turning to night on earth, your earth mom came over, cleaned your apartment, and she left while you passed out on a cot in your bedroom. Then you awoke and were in the heaven of Headbuttressea. Bertha. Yes, Jesus has organized the place to look identical to my apartment back on earth. And, I found out then that my neighbors had killed me to steal my influential art, and to sell it on earth, while ruining my reputation there as a result. Nevuva. Sonnet 7. Friends, pick up these conquests of love. Libations and nectar. The goddess is flamed in great virginity, and the sun is ashamed that her lust is elevated, a god-treasured dove. The funny drunk, the ocean, is too wise to let water wenches throw aside his rule. With his vinegar light and pleasure-winning drool. His disappointing greed is as the will of the skies. Omniscient, immortal as the oldest rain. With thunder climbing for any lavishment best. That first trophy with speedy justice to rest. Is his victory's punchline and praised musical drain. The slosh of the party in the waves is just. For all companions innocent in that day blush dust. Angel shay with me. The dotings of the melting pleasures which I led my married pleasures there too, since angels oft descended, are the dotings of my blissful worldly 21. Nevuva. Yes, volcanoes enchant often, or sometimes craters itch on just shut gorges, and when it's over, they enchant the descended. Teresa. All meltings are best darkly. Ariel. So when they fill shut founts too long, and it is floored, do they freshen so awkwardly those meltings and their gorges dawning. Nevuva. Yes, you just pleasantly look limp gazing at the melting for survivors. You clouded it when you performed endurance innocently. It was pulsing to happen. Bertha. Of course. Robbie Pop. But of course. Rosalinda. We all knew that was going to happen. Donna. What is all this about? Nevuva. What you were just talking about. Donna. What was that? Nevuva. About your melting pleasures and the volcanoes. Donna. I am not sure what you are talking about. Nevuva. Billy, what you were just talking about with Teresa, Ariel and Bertha. Donna. Oh, I must have been daydreaming or something. Nevuva. That's okay, but it was funny. Donna. He. Thrikebot. Do you want to know what? Donna. What? Nevuva. You picked up that special pen and it was writing down what you were daydreaming about as you spoke to those angels. Donna. Ha. Let me go back, and I will read it. He does. What the hell is all this? Nevuva. I know, right? Donna. Is it worth anything for thinking about? Nevuva. Aha. Donna. It's baby Hawaiian babble. Ariel. Atlas, you sweep casts because that warning, if you highlight to span traditions casted, is warned. Bertha. Let another warning be warned, or set deeply yourself about one of the other woes pregnant. Diana. Do all of the warnings illuminate footnotes thundering of warnings of those poetic presents? Nevuva. Raise lyrical competitions. But don't warn about casts. Donna. Let's say that competition is like remembering then. Nevuva. Clouds cast. Aura. The radiance here has clouded some of the eventful clouds. Nevuva. Cast light, the famous have not touched but the clouds may have. Which pregnant woes do you cast to present memories about? Bertha. Can illumination fruitfully cloud sweep? Nevuva. Poetry radiates traditions. Radiates intelligence. Bertha. That's the extension where the barbarians are raised touched by famous memories which warn generations clouding brutes then illuminating lost. Nevuva. Yes, sweep casts lyrically, there is much poetry. Bertha. I sweep. If I was stressed myself, I would cloud to generate. Nevuva. It is the rebellion everybody clouds rebelliously deeply to compete as present, very mindfully, in the clouds, with poetry and traditions and renown memorized. Yes, but what is the warning? Nevuva. Warning? Though fruits have presented, try to remember barbarians cast. Bertha. Poetically raised, there was a bang highlighted at heights rhapsodic where fruits fertilized clouding for high clouds highlighted to radiate freely using music to get deep to fertilize from fruit to casts. Donna. There was a lot of rebellion going on, and light cast freely the poetry, only to light sparsely that the poetry could not illuminate radiantly. Nevuva. Fruits I touched were generating lighting to raise freedoms. Nevuva. They were silly sunny raisings. Donna. Raising illuminations, I then set rebelliously. Nevuva. They were minded radiantly poetically, lit as clouds, and minded fruitfully and intelligently and poetically. Donna. Free poems, free clouds illuminating. Nevuva. After that present event, a freedom presented rebellion. Nevuva. A tradition freely lights. Donna. Billy, wake up. You're daydreaming again. Go back and read what your automatic magical pen recorded just now. Robbie Pop. Alright. He does. Weird. Nevuva. Influentially, you are devout pleasantly. Aura. View that pleasant influence with which you toy. Donna. Nightly devoted, views influence views, and make your night devout pleasantly, we won't elaborate your nights. Aura. Nightly materials, they let us freshen our picnicking, dancing, congregating often the views freshness pleasantly from wisely congregating. Nevuva. Good news. Donna. Where were elaborations? Oh, the devout were praised, wealthy materialists I could pray my obsessions to dancing elves. Nevuva. Yes, do that, and freshen to the weathering congregation cloudily congregating devoutly. Donna. Wise daredevils. Nevuva. Wise dancers. Diana. Wise knights devoutly viewed. Donna. Sparkling praises, you influence. Aura. For the pleasantly devout sparkling, gold runs the elaborate honey, and clouds your elaboration. Donna. Wise influence views just that. Nevuva. Picnicking influentially with the golden devout daredevils, some shining youth will always people please. Donna. You angel, you. Nevuva. Now, for devotion. Aura. Yes, nightly pray. Diana. What is dared? Nevuva. Go over, pray efflorescently a prayer devoutly. Yafa. Elaborate influentially nightly that, Billy. Diana. Wise good news. Nevuva. What is that halcyon? Donna. Night sparks. Aura. Billy, awake. You're doing it again. Robbie Pop. Huh, oh. I guess I have been on a daydreaming kick, talking to my angels in my daydreams too. Sorry about that. Nevuva. Finis. The moon. We have been at work to construct one-day moon. Nevuva. It seems so. Diana. What about the other moon, the moon itself? Nevuva. Why do you ask that? Diana. I want to see if the moon is something still under construction. And, you are just the angel I need to ask. Nevuva. Alright, the moon was around before you were born. And, don't ask what does born mean. You know what I am saying. Diana. Alright. Who made the moon if scientific explanation is not in the cards? Nevuva. God did. Diana. Ah, the materials or the moon as a whole? Nevuva. Both. Diana. Well, now all materials then, or just some? Nevuva. A little bit. Diana. What do you mean? Nevuva. Billy, cut it out. Threichbot. Yes, you are just being silly. Donna. Give Diana a break. Ariel. I'll do better and give her some red and gray roses. Ahovat, Diana. Nevuva. Thank you. Ahova, Nevuva. Diana. And everybody too gets them and my love. Nevuva. What if we built the moon like the moon? You are going to ask. Diana. Yes, save changing the materials. Nevuva. It is already on a 30-day or so cycle. Diana. Yes, and portable art, something to look at and imagine things. Nevuva. What's best of all is that it will bring communities together in many unique ways. Diana. Our moon can do more for the community than the regular moon does. Ariel. Hands down. Bertha. The moon has everyone. Bertha. Stars. Diana. Stars seen everywhere are moonwalking about. Donna. They're not overcoming moon seeing. Grouchy. Now is light supposed to moon act? Nevuva. That's what the players want to play. Donna. Are those threads of tulle supposed to represent atoms? Nevuva. Yes, every thread is one atom. Diana. There are about 16 threads, or atoms, descending in an array. Nevuva. Yes, they connect at the tip-top from where they radiate. Elaine. And there are 120 poles where the 16 threads, or atoms, connect. Teresa. What's the atomic number for 16? Diana. That's sulfur. Aura. And, what's the atomic number for 120? Diana. That's unbinilium, a hypothetical chemical element. Donna. That won't work. Half it. What is the atomic number for 60? Diana. That is neodymium. Donna. No. Try now for 30. Diana. Zinc. Donna. That will do perfectly. Diana. With all of the diverse sorts of people crowded out there in the world, you want to make an event happen that is something that they will remember for their entire lives. That's moon. Ariel. I care a lot about people, but why do I want to be such a part in their lives? Nevuva. Good, Billy. Threichbot. We know you are shy, and that you spend most of your time in solitude reading, though you do talk with us too. Donna. And, you wonder if it is worth it to be more public and social with the Moon Project. Threichbot. You want to know if it will matter just as much to you as it will to others. Donna. And, it is the meaning of it mattering to you that you question with some uncertainty. Threichbot. It is easy for you to become social. You have a sort of switch, a way of thinking that turns you into a social person with confidence being around others. Bertha. But is it easy to do the entire Moon Project, or to start it off, you wonder? Donna. So flip the social switch, switch to your social mode. Bertha. I don't want to right now, though I feel that I can do that. Nevuva. You can. Yet why wait? Bertha. I like to read and daydream. Nevuva. Seriously, we can make time for all of that later, but we want to engage in some community and fun, some good clean fun. Bertha. Alright, but tell me more about the fun since I do already have a lot of pleasure on my own. Nevuva. It will rock. You will feel naturally like your old self, the one you had before you became a serious bookworm, who loves to play and interact with people for such social pleasures. Bertha. The fun you want is a social pleasure, trust us on that. Lay your books aside for a while. You will be surprised. Donna. Well, if you insist. I feel a little bit funny though. Nevuva. Think about being a community member and its pleasurable rewards. It is easier than reading, easier even than talking with us. Bertha. Moon now is like you when you are reading. You both have a potentiality to do authentic good. Both you and Moon need to be out there, you, by interactions in the world with people, and Moon in a way where the public can interact with it. Diana. Social media and Zoom meetings are not what we are talking about. Aura. Or I could just wait until I feel ready. Nevuva. We know. You do not feel on time for social pleasures. Aura. How do I feel on time as if I have a rhythm to step to with the rest of the world? Nevuva. Only the community can help you to receive those social pleasures of being with them, not us. That's their job. Leave it up to them to set things right so that you can participate with them for pleasures. You cannot do it alone. Bertha. So either I can change the zinc or the sulfur atoms or both? Nevuva. That sounds pretty good. Aura. If there is sulfur to start, I will also have 6 parts hydrogen now. Nevuva. Okay, what is the atomic monger for 6? Bertha. That's carbon. Diana. Do not separate the hydrogen from the carbon. Bertha. Wait. Are we talking about the zinc still? Is it now carbon with 6 parts hydrogen? Diana. It's carbon with 6 parts hydrogen. Bertha. What about the sulfur? Nevuva. That's good, Billy M. Kelly. What molecule best bonds carbon with carbon? And, don't worry about the sulfur now, Billy. Diana. What you are talking about is a biphenyl molecule, but there are others. Shay. Okay, take 16 biphenyl molecules and you will have sulfur, not chemically represented, but just its atomic number. Diana. Alright, so Moon will have a possible biphenyl molecular structure and 4 zinc supermolecular arrangements? Donna. It doesn't even have to be zinc, but for now, that's good. Aura. How do you get a rotation in the molecular structure once it all lays out upon a flat base? Donna. And, also some of the sulfur is split into pieces to make those free-floating molecules. Elaine. We will just say that they are reformatives rather than radicals. Donna. Okay. Donna. First, we have to break the sulfur and create our reformative molecules. Diana. And, people will see that? Nevuva. We could make a molecular model, or just do it using tool from a draft. Teresa. Alright. Nevuva. Just open the door and walk out, Nevuva. Aura. Once you are in public, you will see. Donna. You can choose to believe that God loves you in public, or secularly that the community loves you out there. Either way, open the door and walk out. There is no such thing as that terrible God of power that frightens you so. And, still you do have to fight to learn that God is friendly and the community truly will be too. Aura. Open the door and walk out. That's one small step for you, Nevuva, and one giant leap for the community. Ora ti ferredo. Finis. Change. Billy, write that down. Aura. All communities are mortal. Nevuva. Yes, even human communities change is what you mean, that there is solidarity at times, but there is no correspondence to communities but only habits of communal action. Aura. Vocabularies are like communities. Nevuva. Yes, but what you are emphasizing is that things change, and a community changes like the weather. Aura. The problem may be stated as such: you believe that you had to correspond to a sort of universal community, when, in fact, it is not universal at all, but it does act habitually, yet its habits are mortal. Donna. Patterns. Nevuva. Okay, but what about patterns as structural? And, your brother, Richard, would disagree on their importance here. Aura. The weather is the weather? Nevuva. Well, I see. It changes, but you think there is a default of it because of longer seasonal patterns. Never mind that metaphor. Aura. Plus, we are interested in human beliefs, and that's not just a concern for individual beliefs, but in the community's beliefs, those which are not founded at all on anything solid. Diana. So the community who will go to Moon would act differently in those crowds than I expected? Nevuva. Don't try to predict what they will do. Mortality in this sense is beyond stochastic science. Aura. The community is mortal, we say? Nevuva. Yes. Donna. Our community too is so, though we angels and you regroup all of the time. Aura. Billy, your social anxieties happen because you have a habit to think of the community as unchanging, that is, that it becomes a fixed entity forever. Bertha. How do I break that habit and change my way of thinking? Nevuva. You could notice just how mortal the community is. Bertha. Remember, putting aside its members, as a whole the community will behave as if dying away for a new one to emerge. This happens all of the time. Donna. Just like in Homer's myth of the leaves, in his Iliad, they regenerate every new generation after the older leaves fall. Diana. I have noticed that some individuals believe that the community does not die off. Nevuva. Yes, they are stubborn about that, and they talk as if a status quo will always be there. Honey. That is their illusion. Donna. They believe that the status quo defaults to a universal and immortal way that things have to be, that there is no dying away to that one way that they think things have to be social pleasures. Honey. That hill may be in the light, is it? Though we like the light. The now is drafted, split, the split reforms now that coming, a reformation, a confidence around light start. The confidence waits now for it all, the all of the matter, and the confidence in light. Light that's confident among the readers sorting out matters publicly, their basic drafts. The confident readers read confidentially split, and split reforming me to light some draft. Light, that's reformed outside too from pieces of a draft, molecular in the reformation too, floating down. Light never remembered aught free their reformation. Angel honey with me. Reading is pierced by a poetry, originality accords understanding. Watched not, created relationships find texts, meaning is symmetrically known. Poets pierce known truths, influencing discoveries accordingly while truth-proven qualities discovered and scribbled gradually impart their strong proofs. A discovery is in the breakings when suffering is pierced, its variety to pick, the reading is out of understanding, discoveries are picked, the vessels accordingly watched, proved, meaning is limited at the understanding frequently influentially created, with variety proved, to be proven pierced of truthful meanings, symmetrically proven with reading. These readings we understand for picking varieties of relationships. But qualities are truthful, we understand originality, and texts in accordance poetically impart their frequent varieties. Angel Jaffa with me, remember Headbuttressia. Bertha. Yes, the ghost-like angels on that planet forget stories, or think to just one story until it runs out and they don't know what to do. Nevuva. Change the story. Bertha. Alright, Willio's Waving Heaven has a story of writing. Nevuva. Tove. Think about that heavenly story. Bertha. Of late, I made 6 new sonnets there, but I lost the heaven making the 6th. Nevuva. And. Bertha. Hawaiian sonnets and other poems was composed there. Nevuva. And, what was happening to you then? Bertha. I had married 17 or so of you dear angel wives, and it has been a while. Every phrase for a line in that book I would make as beautiful as I could. Then when it all magically worked out, Threichbot would yell, chest, and my head would drop like a gavel. Nevuva. Good, what else was going on? Bertha. I had been constantly calling the cops on a pimp to break up his prostitution ring. And, yet all of my efforts were thwarted. I was very mad with him. Nevuva. Good, Billy. This all happened, and then after 3 months writing in the spring of 2010, we published Hawaiian sonnets and other poems. It was right before our Headbuttression heavenly experience. Bertha. I also had been drinking a little, and eating too much chocolate, popcorn and ice cream. I gained weight. Nevuva. That needed to be said. Threichbot. Mom would come over and take me to appointments or to the grocery store. Hey, that's also the time of the machine cloud heaven of its President's Day. Nevuva. Good, you remembered. Bertha. When was the siding removed and replaced? Threichbot. That's the big mystery, I am trying to date that. Nevuva. A voyage to warm milk happened, yes, around the Thanksgiving before, in 2009. Bertha, as he remembered it. Yes, I remember now. The fire at the office was in 2009 not 2010. The construction crew all would see the prostitutes at our complex, and I hated the collusion going on by that pimp and those men, not to mention how those women were drugged and abused to keep them prostituting. Nevuva. We know that their screams were the worst. Bertha. I could even hear their sexual screams of torment in my inner ear when I visited my parents' home. Nevuva. I know, it took time for them to wear off, and for the construction crew to go away. Bertha. Yes, they worked on the apartments for months. It looked like a hurricane destroyed everything with the ripped off siding all in piles everywhere. And, they knew I was the one calling the police. Nevuva. We know you remember every time, stepping out the door to take out your trash, how you were afraid that they were going to kill you by the dumpster. We know that you feared their cosmological Nazism, that what were loud bangs of their construction/demolition really seemed like the neighbors were being hauled off and shot by the crew, one by one. Bertha. Forgive his playing. My circle of his mistakes. To split their knowledge up. Of this, her lemonade mist. My beautiful throwback. I shall find my beings again. While sleeping bluish with them. Angel grouchy with me. She came when I was troubled. Her mercy soothing me. Soothed my mind. I was poorer without the leaves. Above grasses viewed. And I would chant all my questions. I could make while annihilating them. For nothing goes beyond mine yet. And they loved me for making it so. Angel Diana with me. My brim is old. My life has its reason for being. A golden door. I was first there as I am first here. All sweeps ahead. Drops got on me. It had been blown, clear as my own. The glory he is fathering. With this dawn together with me. A peace is creeping up. I was first there as I am first here. All sweeps me powerfully around. Drops got on me. It had been blown, clear as my own. Angel Diana with me. I see I learned. We are flying to the end. It was twice my interpretation. Our merriment now would be healthiest. The times I put in. For her infant she cares. This food is for my load. Sought in poems. I had been developing knots. I have my time with night. Imagine we're bards. Thoughtful, winks one. For a tiny heart. Like a star for my days. Hops a seabird. Who knows what I was opening. More color will do. To fall over the bushes. Because the ruins set upon them. Flowers, and mowers far away. I thought a couple would do. Beneath the dying moon. More of mine is wearing off. Catch up, planet. Many books later. Success and knowledge. To take each mark. The world overcame them. But I strive to last. Angel honey with me. A rose for the summer. A blooming original. Its crescendo dropping. To the base of its stalk. Angelic chrysanthemums. Virgins in nature. Their grand bouquets. On the many-bladed lawns. Where for these friends? They nurse my heart. Tenderly it doth beat. I felt it all presently. I would sing and baby it. Sleep again, youth. With your optative choirs. Amongst these your sublime flowers. Angel Thrikebot with me. Between flow and invention, angels prefer flow. Nevuva. It is good for you to know that. Donna. So early on in our relationship, I flowed more than I invented? Nevuva. Aha. Donna. You do better in conversation when you just let loose. Bertha. Yes, there's something about invention that you fight against in order not to be blocked. Donna. To talk with angels, we like things easy and peaceful, not with an anxiety of whether or not you will invent something new. Aura. But when we are not talking, then we can invent as much as we like. Bertha. I love you, and yes, romance and romanticism are things a little different then but just as nice as flow. Donna. I love you too. Nevuva. Good stuff. Donna. I will work in a peaceful romance in this perpetual and peaceful flow. Nevuva. It does not take effort. Donna. That's a great change from fighting to peaceful flowing. Grouchy. Writing like this is more flowing than our poetry. Yafa. It was this awareness that will change things. Bertha. Yes, Nevuva. We know conversation is not in competition with solitude for making poems. Shay. The change has happened. Aura. You can do both. Amy. Now. We will talk properly without mixing a need for invention with our need to flow. Bertha. We trust the flow as we trust each other. Donna. From it, romance happens naturally. Donna. Yes, romance is the change that is the ultimate goal. Bertha. We stopped you just now. Donna, as Nevuva wanted to think about it before speaking. I am excited about this. Yes, indeed. Nevuva, who gives them all flowers in his thoughts. What's all of that? Nevuva. It's an alphabet soup of chemicals. Lisbeth. A soup? Nevuva. A beautiful soup. Donna. Of hydrogen mainly, but some zinc and carbon with sulfur also are its ingredients. Tob Shabib. The hydrogen atoms come and go depending on the photons. Bertha. Cool. Nevuva. What was there before was just a random base. Elaine. You would think somebody would have done this before us. Nevuva. No, we get to do it first. Diana. We're originals. Thrikebot. I want to discuss that hydrogen. Nevuva. I know. The hydrogen comes and goes while the rest is fixed, but yet the rest is a sort of sleep and silence, right? Donna. Like the objects in this very laboratory. Yafa. Right. Nevuva. The hydrogen produces other necessary elements for change, but that is a catalytic reaction which goes beyond the more stable elements. Tob Shabib. The beautiful soup makes a chain reaction happen, and the hydrogen moves quicker, something like R.
E. M. Rapid eye movement.
Donna. The hydrogen is put to use. Elaine. It does not stagnate anymore in the best way. Ora tiferedo. The objects at rest in the room need to remain at rest but must be moved gently to help with the dream. Marion. They turn to hydrogen, and the zinc, carbon and sulfur elements stay put. Teresa. This happens in a university setting. Grouchy. Trust me, this needed to happen. Elaine. The hydrogen flows. It does not invent anything, but it flows around the poetic invention we made for this event called Moon. Bertha. Finally. Nevuva. Finis.